All right. Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to week 5 or week 6, right? I think so. Week 6 live classes. All right. So now in the previous in the week, during the week rather, during the week we talked about cleaning data and splitting data in Power Query, as well as the pivot analysis. And I've also received your questions. Your questions bordered around more clarification on Monday class, then transforming data into charts, as well as linking Excel with Power BI as the case may be. So we have a data set that we'll be using for today's class. So you can still always refer back to your video classes, right? All right. So sorry about that distractions. So can you hear me fine, please? You can send a message via to tell me you can.
Yes, we can hear you.
All right. So now Power Query in Microsoft Excel or Power Query in Power BI. Basically, Power Query is an add-on, right? That has the potential to help us really clean our data. So the pathway to data analysis, right, includes getting data, right? That's number one, getting data. Number two, you have to clean and prepare data for analysis, okay? Clean and prepare data. Okay. After that, then you perform your analysis. This is just a summary of the pathway. Basically, what the pathway will definitely go through. So Power Query is very efficient in helping us do the second, which is to clean and prepare data, okay? Or clean and transform data. Okay, so, and let's look at this data now. Let me share my screen. Okay, can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this is sales data, right? And we have this data before, say data was provided, right? And we look at this data, we know there is no way we can begin to analyze this data without actually cleaning and transforming this data. For instance, we have sales, right? And usually what comes to mind is that you want to actually calculate sales per product and so on and so forth. All right. So that being the case, we have to take into consideration the factors that are abound here. For instance, the order dates. You see that the order dates have timestamps. Then the sales, no currency. Then you go look at other parameters you like to use. Look at this phone, see how the numbers are. So you understand that if you want to use any of these columns, you definitely need to transform your data, or to clean and transform your data, right? So that is where Power Query comes in. And you can use Power Query in whether you want to use, you're using Power BI directly, or you want to use Microsoft Excel directly. So Power Query can be used in these two applications as well. So now we are on Excel. Let's just go on to Power Query. We discussed delimiter the previous weeks, separating data via their delimiter. We discussed that. And we are going to see how more efficiently, how we can use that in Power Query. So let's connect our data to Power Query. We know that to do that, we will head on to data, isn't it? From on our ribbon. Then we can actually get this data if we had not opened it here from a CSV file, right? From file and from CSV, we can do that. Let's say if we had not opened it, but now we have it open, right? And because we have it open, what we need to do now is to say from a table or range. So this is not a table, so this is a range. So what Microsoft Excel will do for us is to first convert it into a table, then we'll now take it into Power BI. Rather, we'll now take it into Power Query. So let's say from table or range. You can have a little bit of this delay if your data set is quite much. So that is why when you get to a SQL, you understand why we can actually just work on SQL, then connect our data to either Power BI or Microsoft Excel, depending on where you want to do your analysis. Okay, so now you see that our entire data set is wrapped. Okay, you can see that the entire data set is wrapped. You can say there, so it's actually correct. So we can click OK. Once we click OK, it converts what we have to a table while loading it into Power Query. So can you see the Power Query editor loading?
Yes, sir.
Yes. Yes.
Oh,
Yes, sir.
all right. So now this is our Power Query editor. Okay. And we have directly here just one table. And in case yours don't load directly like this, in some other case, the data set I sent you will load directly like this. If it doesn't load, know that you don't have a CSV file. A CSV file just have one sheet. But if you have a Microsoft Excel file, you are going to have multiple sheets. And if you have multiple sheets, Power Query will want to know which sheet you are interested in loading into Power Query. And that is why you have the preview window first, then you select the sheet and say load and transform, then it opens Power Query. But because this is a CSV file, a CSV file by its characteristics just have one sheet. So it knows that that is the sheet you are talking about. So it just loads directly to Power Query. So we have it here in Power Query already. And we have our Power Query ribbon here with different tabs. We have about 4 tabs: the Home tab, the Transform tab, the Add Column tab, and the View tab. The Home tab generally just combines a whole lot of commands, right? Basically converts, adds elements of editing and elements of transforming data, right? You could see the split column, which is supposed to be under transfer, and then you can see your new query, assuming you want to add a new query, right? How you can combine and append queries, right? Different queries that you've added. And then you reduce rows by removing rows, manage columns. These are the home functions, basically the home functions. So now, one very nice thing Power Query does is that Power Query records applied steps, right? The steps you go through to transform your data, they are saved. So instead of saying Control Z to go backward, all you need to do is to clear this a step or a previous step to go backward. Okay, you see all of the steps you've used recorded here, and this makes it possible for automation. All right. Okay. Then on manage parameters here, you can basically add new parameters. But for now, if you head on to when you go to Power BI, you see we discussed something there, but let's focus on what we're discussing today. So let's look at this dates, the dates column. If you recall in Delimiter, the one we did directly from Microsoft Excel, we had to basically insert columns that we need to split into. Else, our data will override what we have in this content in the columns. So we want to do the same thing now. We want to separate this now, but we want to separate it to dates, and we are not interested in the time. So we will head on to our transform tab. In our transform tab, you see text to column, just as you will have done on Microsoft Excel. You see text to column, right? And from text to column, what we want to actually do is to split column. But before we go ahead to split column, I want to describe the commands here in the Power Query, so that on the transform tab of the Power Query, so that you will want to use them later on. So on the table, on the table group here, you want to use first row as headers. We already have that here. Our first row is a header, okay? So if that is what the command you want to do, that is what you do. Use first row as header. We have done that. The group by can allow you group by certain criteria as you want. Then we transpose tables here. Transposing table means changing the arrangements of your tables, right? Swapping the arrangement of a table. That is what transpose and reverse rows will do for you. Then for any column, the any column here can, the any column command have a lot of things we can do to rename a column, to detect a data type on a column. For instance, let's take this column now and see on sales. You can click on detect data type to help you correctly detect the data type. And I want to show you what it means for a data type to be detected appropriately. If you look at this now, you see it going to the right side, and on italics, it shows that there are numbers, right? Then on the left side, non-italics. For instance, look at this product code. This product code looks like numbers, but they are on the left side of the column and not italicized. So they are text data, okay? And if you look at this now, let's click on product code. You'll see that the data type here is text, right? If you click on AID, you see that the data type is whole number, okay? So that is what you can do from here. Then our text to column, we will use this text to column to work on separating our data, right? Then on numbers column, you can basically do certain calculations on the numbers column, whether is to add, multiply, subtract, divide, and so on. Any calculations you want to do. You can do statistical calculations as well, or scientific calculations as well. You have trigonometry, rounding, and information. So this numbers column here is for calculation. So you want to transform to add a specific column of choice, you can calculate using this. Majorly, what is most used is the standard. All right. So let's head on to order date, and you see what will happen. We want to split our order date by delimiter. Now, I think we covered this. We covered by delimiter in our classes. We covered by number of characters, then non-digit, by digit to non-digit, by non-digit to digit. So these are several ways that you could just go ahead and split your data or split your column. Okay, so we want to split by delimiter. So we click split by delimiter. So we have, can you see the pop-up?
Yes,
Yes.
All right. So now it says split by delimiter, and it just picked the delimiter under custom. We have several delimiters, right? But it automatically picks the delimiter that you have there, okay? That we have on the column. So take note of this splitter. The leftmost delimiter is the data to the leftmost of the first delimiter. The rightmost delimiter is the data to the right after the first delimiter. Then each occurrence of the delimiter, on each occurrence of the delimiter, the data is split based on every appearance of the delimiter, okay? So that being said, we just go ahead and say, okay, to split. You see now, it splits. It splits it straight. We don't have to say this is where we want the column. Don't need to add column. We don't need to say this is the address. It goes ahead and split even within the data set, and it does so correctly. So we can name this. But if you check here now on the other day 3, which will rename to year, you see that we have the year here, but we still have the timestamp because the delimiter we were interested in is the delimiter of /. So we still have the delimiter of space to take this away. So we can still repeat the process. Okay. We can still repeat the process and says highlight the column, say split column, then split column rather, then automatically it picks space. Okay. Now, let me show you this now. If we click at say each occurrence of the delimiter, we are going to separate this 12 and AM. But we want to split leftmost of the delimiter so that we can actually take one and leave the rest in block so that we can remove it. Okay. We'll say okay. You see that we have taken this year. We just took this year because that was our interest. We didn't want to make do with this timestamp because if you look at the timestamp, it all looks the same. So we don't want to use this timestamp. So we say leftmost of the delimiter. So that is why it was able to give us just the year instead of adding different columns for us to delete. So we want to remove this column. It's not of importance to us. So we just highlight, right click and say remove. So we are remove those columns. If you come to apply steps, you're going to see all of the steps we've applied so far in making sure this data is clean for us to use. So you see all of the steps, right? So if you want to go back any step, all you need to do is to click on the X and it takes you back one step. So now we have our dates separated. That is, this looks like month, this day, and year. So we will just double click on the label and correct them. Other month. Other day. And other year. All right. So we've successfully separated this. Okay. So we can go on and see what we can work on. So we actually don't need a phone number for the phone number or address for this analysis. So we can just remove them. What I did was hold down my control and click all the columns I'm not interested in. And so I want to remove the columns and I remove the columns. So you ensure that you know that the reason is that when we are done with this, if we import this data set back, it's going to be a separate table from our original table. So that is what makes it interesting. So we are not actually dealing with our data, our previous original data set rather, but we are actually working on something new. So this state, we have a lot of null values on this state. So I think what we are going to work with, we are going to just use the CT to do our analysis. So then let's take away state and postal codes. So yeah, I think this is fine. So once we're done cleaning your data, or you can just go ahead and load your data. So you can do that from home, or you can do it from file, okay? You either click on home and come to close and load, or you come to file and say close and load, those two ways. So let's click close and load. So we are now loading our query, right? So this table, you see it is different from our original data set. So our original data set was connected to a query, which this table is the output of that query. Okay. So one of the lessons we covered in Microsoft in the past week was I think pivot analysis. So pivot analysis, after cleaning your data, right? Cleaning and transforming your data, pivot analysis helps us to summarize our data into meaningful or generating meaningful insights. So usually, you will not basically be able to summarize a whole lot of data set, but with pivot analysis includes pivot tables as well as pivot charts. So you could perform a pivot analysis to create a pivot table, or you could perform pivot analysis to create a pivot chart. To create a pivot chart, it creates a pivot table, then a pivot chart. I will explain the different ones. So if your idea or if your goal was to create a pivot table, then clone the pivot table and create a chart, then you can go ahead and create a pivot table directly. But if your goal is to create a pivot chart directly, you can just go ahead and create a pivot chart because it creates a pivot table on the way. Not all charts can be used as a pivot chart. So if you want to be very flexible with your charts, you might want to create a pivot table, transform your pivot table, or clone your pivot table, then make a chart of the clone rather than on the pivot table. Okay, so let me start with the first one, creating a pivot chart and create a pivot table rather, and clone the pivot table. So what we will do is that we have this data set here, right? We have order number. We don't need to use order number because they are different. We have shape. So I think what we'll do is to see how we work with product line. Let me see how many. Yes, let's work with product line. Okay. So you see that, and after the product line, we have sales. So let's insert a pivot table here. Click on insert on your table tools, and then click on pivot table. So our table is picked because we're on this table. So this is our table. We want to put it on a new sheet. So we'll go ahead and say, okay. So we have inserted our pivot table. What is next is to ensure that we pick what is to be represented. What is to be represented? We said we wanted, before we actually pick what's to be represented, we have 4 areas here that are of critical importance. We have filters, we have columns, we have rows and values. The rows are basically labels, right? They are where you insert your labels. Similarly with the column. Then values, whatever you put on the values will be calculated depending on what your preference is. then whatever you put on filter is going to serve as conditions for which you filter your table or filter the data in your table by. So let us pick, we said we wanted to pick product line, right? So if you just check it, if you see that it's automatically picked to the row, it goes to the row because the row is a label. However, if you ever check and it doesn't go to the right place, all you need to do is to click, hold, and drag and take it to the right place. So let us take sales, right, to values. Immediately I check sales, it goes to values because it is numerical in nature and it knows that that is where it's supposed to be. But if you check yours and it doesn't go to the right place, all you need to do is to click on the drop down, say remove field, go to sales, click, hold, and drag and drop it where you need to drop it. All right. So now we have our product line and sum of sales for those product lines. Okay. So I want to show you the preference I was talking about. The preference I was talking about is the value field setting. So it's now set on sum. If you wanted it to be set on count or average, you just go ahead and pick what you want here what you want it to do here. But what I know this does automatically or by default is that when you pick text into values, it automatically counts. When you pick numbers into values, it automatically sums. So if you don't want it to sum, what you need to do is that you come pick if you want average rather. For instance, if I want an average, I'll just click on average and say, okay. So it gives me average of sales rather than sum of sales. But I actually want it to be sum. So I pick sum and say, okay. So it gives me the sum of sales. So we have this pivot table now. And this pivot table, right, is dynamic, right? I can filter through it and add a pivot chart to it, but I cannot add a normal chart here. For instance, if you go to insert now, and let's pick maybe let's go to all of charts. You see that you can pick maps because actually this is not country, but you can pick certain charts because it will tell you that the charts, you cannot use this chart type inside a pivot table. You see, you cannot use a tree map with a pivot table. Then we see Sunburst, you can create with a pivot table, and so on. There are lots more you can create with a pivot table. So if you want to create use a static chart to create or add dynamism to it, all you need to do is to clone this table. And it's easy, right? So, hello, please. Hope you can hear me, guys.
Yes, sir.
Yes, we can hear you, sir.
Okay. And secondly, secondly, hope I'm not too fast.
Not really.
Okay.
Kind of.
Oh, okay.
Kind of, sir. Yeah, a bit faster.
All right. Okay. Okay. So do you have any questions so far how I got here? Yes or no, please? Do you have a question?
No,
how
sir.
Oh, okay. All right.
No,
All right.
just for the first class.
All right. So now we have this pivot table. So to clone this pivot table, we'll use the get pivot data function. Okay. You see how I got there looks like a magic. Anyway, we'll do more, okay? So I'll be slower now. So now let's get this use get pivot data to actually clone this this table. So I want to highlight this and copy it to form a kind of label for me. Okay, so I have the labels now. All right. So what I need to do is actually to use get pivot data to copy this. And I'll show you how easy it is. It's just as easy as saying equal to rather, then pick what you want to get. So you just see it says get pivot data, then it gives you the jargons of formula inside of here. Okay. So instead of just writing this formula directly, all you need to do is to say equals, then click on the first item corresponding to your label. Okay. So classic cars is this, and we got these labels. We say equals the values for classic cars. So it gets us this. But this is where it gets interesting. If we say enter, it picks the exact value from classic cars to this value here of classic cars. But we cannot autofill this. If we do autofill this, we are still going to have all of classic cars coming down the column. So what makes it interesting is that I will explain this formula so that we will know how to adapt the formula to our needs. So we say get pivot data. The pivot data is a pivot of sales and product line. The sales is the value, the product line is the label. All right. So what happens here is that we have our data, our pivot table entered in A3. You recognize what this dollar sign means, just a constant. So our pivot table was entered in A3, and that is it. So now the labels here, you see this as classic cars, right? The label is classic cars. So if I want to adapt this formula to work well for me, all I need to do is to change these classic cars here. Instead of hard coding it, I will remove these classic cars here and make it an address, okay? And the address now I want to use as a new label is in D4. So what happens with Microsoft Excel is that anytime we say we want to autofill, it goes down vertically. So because we know that if we say D4 now, if we want to go to motorcycle, it definitely has to pick the value of motorcycle. So let's see this happen for us. If I just want to do it one after the other, if I do one, you see that it takes the value of motorcycle, right? And if I check this formula now, it's the label is in D5, isn't it? Makes sense. If I do the order, you see that it picks the value of this, okay? And you see that it's on D6. So that is how it goes. It makes sure it picks all the correct values. So I see that the values are, sorry. I see that it's the decimals rather are different from this. So let me change the decimal point so that it matches this. So you see that everything matches now appropriately, is matching, okay? So let me show us something now. Any change done to this pivot table will affect this value here, whereas this now is not a pivot table, it's just a copy of this pivot table. So we have product line, right? And we have our sales here, okay? So let's come back to this pivot table and insert a slicer on this pivot table. How did I do that? I clicked on the pivot table, came to pivot table analyze on the ribbon, then came to filters group, and then say I clicked on insert slicer. So now the slicer that will be of use to us will be year. I think order year will serve a good purpose here. So I click on it to check it and I say, okay, so we have the order year here. So I want you to pay attention to these two tables. the pivot table, and the cloned pivot table. So if I click on 2003, you'll see the change occurring in both tables. I picked 2004, you can see the change occurring in both tables, 2005 and so on. So I can click on clear filter here to clear this. So you see that now that I have cloned this, I can go ahead to enter any chart of choice here, right? Because I don't really have to mind whether the chart can work with the pivot table again or not, because this is not a pivot table. This table is a clone of this pivot table, so it retains the dynamic nature of the pivot table. But now it doesn't mean I can go ahead and delete this. I cannot delete this because this is dependent on this. This table is dependent on this table. So taking this table away means that I don't have a reference for this table, right? Okay. So one of the questions we got today for today's class is how to transform data into charts. So I'm going to use this opportunity to do that. So it's just to highlight your data, then go to insert. Then on the chart group, you can decide to insert any chart of your choice if they match or can speak to your analysis. One way to begin your charting journey is to always look at recommended charts. If you look at recommended charts over your career, you will always find Excel or other tools recommending charts you will use. I think it will give you an idea of what charts to always use in certain cases or scenarios. So I would like to use a line chart. A line chart isn't here. I'd like to use a line chart to discuss this. So I'll go to all charts, then I'll pick on line and I will take this line chart. I'll say, okay. So I have this line chart now here. Now, this chart, like I said, is not a pivot chart. And you could see that the table it's referencing is our copied table. That's the table that is referencing, okay? So now, if I click on this filter, you definitely are going to see the performance over the years, okay? And this is all because it is connected to this dynamic chart. Remember, I inserted this slicer on this pivot table because you cannot insert a slicer on an ordinary table or an ordinary chart. Okay, so I do show people how, or show students how to make their charts beautiful. You can beautify, ensure that your dashboard have beautiful charts to enhance user experience. So to do that for this line chart, you have to click on the line series, then you go to the format to either change the colors or the lines, right? I want to go more on styles here. So to go more on styles, I clicked on this small arrow pointing down so that I can work on the fill. I click on the fill effects or the fill and line effects. It's on line. I can work on the line or work on the marker. Any one I click is going to point to what I can work on. Realize that the marker, there are two different components here, the marker and the line. The marker refers to these points that are highlighted. Okay, you can make, okay, let me give you an example how it looks. I can say we make it a solid line. Okay, add a solid line. Then let's add color so that this color, so that you see it, and increase the line width. Okay. All right. Are we together? Can you still hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So we can, I don't know why it's not responding, but let's start with the line. So this line that we have here like this, I want to make this line smooth in such a way that I don't have to have curved angles. So I'll scroll down to the end on line and say smooth line. So I have the smooth line. This line like this is smooth line. I think one reason why I'm not having a marker is if I pick a chart that can give us a marker, it gives us a marker. But let's see. Let's go to marker and we'll say marker. Let's go to fill. We'll say solid fill. And let's just give it a different fill color. Let's use this. Let me come to marker options and say none. I want to use automatic. Okay, I can see why it wasn't there before. So we on the marker option, it was set to none. So we came to automatic, or you say built-in, as the case may be. If you say built-in, you can change the size of the marker by increasing it on the size, then pick a marker type. You can decide to pick a marker type, okay? All right, any marker type at all you pick will represent. If you want a picture, you click on the picture here. Let's use this as the marker type. Okay, so let me say no fill so that we can see the marker clearly. So this is the marker. And so you can actually work on performance and so on, making your charts not look like the ordinary charts you always see or the normal charts you always see, still maintaining its ability to communicate to your audience. Okay. So this is one way. So, but if you want to, okay, let me see. We have country. Let's enter another pivot table to work on country using what we have learned now. I think we have city and so on. Okay. Let's see. We have city, we have country. Okay, let's use country. So we want to use country and want to see a performance of countries and on sales. So let's go to insert another pivot table. This table, which is table 1 of 1. Click OK. Now, for those of you that entering the table was like magic, so I'll slow down a lot so that we can see this. So I have entered the pivot table. So we can see the pivot field here. The pivot field here represents the fields that we want to report. Now, all of these items we see on this window here are our column headings. Okay, there are our column headings. So it is for us to pick what is of interest to us. And now what is of interest to us is country. We want to take country to rows because we say rows serve as our labels. Okay, we would like to label what we have. So look, these are all the countries we have in our data set. So a summary of all the countries. So we want to also compare these countries or compare the performance on sales. So we'll go back to pick sales to values. So we can basically conclude on the insights generated here concerning which country had the highest sales and which had the lowest sales. Okay, so now to represent these will be easy on a map rather than, because we have countries, instead of inserting it on a different chart, it will be excellent if we represent this in the chart. So what I want to do is what we have done before, to clone this table, because hey, look at this. if I want to represent this in a map, I wouldn't be able to achieve that, because when I go to a map, right, and pick a map, it is say you can't create this chart type with data inside a pivot table. Please select a different chart type or copy the data outside a pivot table. So we don't want to use the first option of selecting a different chart type. We want this chart type. So we will go with the second option, which is to copy the data outside of the pivot table. But now, because we are working on a dynamic pivot, on a dynamic dashboard, our goal is later to put all of these things we've created in a dashboard, and we want to be able to slice or filter using certain criteria or condition. We have to ensure that our charts remain or retain a dynamic nature. Okay. And the dynamic nature comes from what? The pivot table. The pivot table can be filtered through or sliced through. So we want to ensure that if we take our data outside the pivot table, we want the data to retain what? The ability to be sliced through and filtered through. Okay, we say okay. So now I want to copy this now as a label so that I don't have to keep writing. I highlight and say Control-C, and I paste here to have my label. So what I want to do now is to use a formula to copy this pivot table, this sales on pivot table, okay? And I want to use this as the label. Remember when we did sum if, average if, and count if, we used certain text as, or certain areas, excuse me, as labels. Excuse me. All right, so let's call this country. I want to call this sales. All right, are we still together?
Yes, sir.
All right.
Yeah.
Okay, so like I said, it's as simple as saying equals Australia and here, okay? So I cannot say equals and come and pick a wrong value. So I have to actually copy this correctly. Australia is to Australia, okay? And now we see this Australia here because it is tied to Australia. So now we don't want these to be dependent. Imagine saying equals to every time. Imagine say equals, we pick Australia, we say enter, we say equals here, we come to Austria and say enter. Imagine, it won't be productive. So what we need to do is that we need to kind of tell Excel that, oh, the label we have here is equals to the label we have here. That is what we have here is corresponding to the labels we have here. So don't stress yourself, just know that this is the new label. So I'm going to take out Australia now and replace Australia with our new Australia. Our new Australia is in D4. So it's still going to be correct, right? That being done, all I need to do is to autofill, okay? To double click and we have everything as it should be. Okay, let me, so everything, right? Everything as it should be. So now I can easily highlight this data, go to maps, go to insert, go to maps, and say I pick maps, and it will definitely insert the map. Because it uses internet, it's going to take a while, just in a few seconds, depending on your internet speed, to map it out correctly based on the country we have highlighted here. And we have a map here. Okay, so we can still slice this map. We can filter data in this map. And what makes it possible is that we can insert our slicers through here. Let's insert a slicer on our pivot tables and see. So we click on a pivot table we go to pivot table analyze on the ribbon, and on the filter group, we go to insert slicer. And I want to use the year slicer, okay? I want to use year because I think year will slice through most appropriately for us. Let's take year and then say okay. So let's look at how this works for us now. Okay, so take a look at the chart. If I click on 2003, you are going to see the effect on the map. I click on 2004, you are still going to see the effect and so on. So you see the effect, you see it. So the reason here is that this was made possible because whatever affects the pivot table affects our new table and definitely will affect our map, okay? Okay, will definitely affect our map. So, any questions so far concerning what we've done?
Yes, sir, I have a question.
All right, okay.
So this report is actually insightful because there's something I do like this in the office that
Okay.
if I had been doing it this way, it would have looked much more advanced and simple. Now I want
Okay.
to ask, is it possible to insert more than one slicer? Because in my report, I have a machine, consumable type, which is drum, toner, fuser, and then I have a percentage of those consumables. And if I want to filter, I'll have to filter consumables by the percentage remaining by the type of machine. So which
Okay.
means I'll definitely need like 3 or 4 slicers. I will also filter by location. So is it
Okay.
possible to insert more than one slicer?
Yes, it's very possible. I don't think there is a limit to it. The only limit is a considerable consideration. You can insert any number of slicer. Let's look at this again. I go to pivot table analyze and I pick a slicer. So I can basically pick all the slicers I need. Okay, let's look at this now. We picked yay, right? We have yay already. I could want to say, want to know, we have day, month, you see, I can pick them, right? I can pick several. I've picked month, day, we have year already. Let's see, product, territory, or deal size. Let's take deal size as well and say, okay. So now
Oh,
I have deal size. The deal size, just like the question Mr. Nosike asked, we have deal size. We want to know the deal size, right? So let me make this clear so that we can actually fix these slices here. So the other day, we can work on this other day by reducing the numbers of columns so that everything, we don't have to scroll like this, right? So what we need to do is to go to the columns here, click on the filter, on the slicer, rather, click on the slicer, go to slicer. On buttons here, we have one column. If I increase the columns, we are going to have different arrangements. So
wow.
now I don't have to scroll up, down to see all what I have. So I would like to reduce this deal size as well so that I can have 2 filters beside it. So I click on deal size. I increase the columns to maybe this way. I think the 3. Let me see. Let me just reduce it to 3. Then because I know already we have large, medium, and small. So let me do the same thing for the year. Increase the year to 3 so that this way I can just have 2 slicers here. Okay. Then for the month, I'll take it, reduce it as well as, okay, to 3. So basically I can have, let's do it this way. I'll take this size up this way, year up, months following. Then let me take day downwards. Okay, then I can use deal size this way. Okay, so let's see something now. Let's look at something. So I want to clear the filters so that we basically start again. So right now, I'm not filtering. This is the representation of the entire data set. I come to 2003, I slice via 2003, right? Then I say, I want to know in 2003 of January, what was the performance? What was the sales? So you can see it sliced through. We only have Germany, Norway, Spain, and USA, and we have it represented on our map. I don't know if you can see that.
Yes.
So if we come to February, you can see the map shifting, the content shifting. We have Denmark, Italy, USA. So you are going to see it shift. In March of 2003, if you look at the map, are you seeing the marked areas changing too? Because we have Philippines, Sweden, UK, and USA. So now, let's look at it this way now. And if you look at the day, when we pick the month, you see that some days are changing. You see, we have the 1st, the 4th, the 11th, the 16th, the 21st, 28th, 29th. These are the days sales took place in what? Australia, Austria, Belgium, France, Singapore, Spain. So there's a lot of information you can get from this analysis you have before you. So now you can see that these three, the deal size are still there. So we can say, okay, let's see. In 2003, in April 2003, we already see the days here. Let's say we are okay with the days. Let's see what was the performance of large deal size. You can see the performance of large deal size. You see, in Australia, France, and USA, you can basically see the performance. You come to medium. What was medium? You see, so if you come to large, you see that large sales was made on the 1st of April 2003, as well as the 4th of April 2003, as well as the 29th of April 2003. What about medium sales? Medium sales of the same month was done 1st, 4th, 16th, 21st, 28th, and 29th. What about small? Small was done on 1st, 4th, 11th, 16th, 28th, 29th. So you can, apart from just the values, Mr. Nosike, you see how you can actually put this together to generate insights for you. So if you are the type that like labels on your chart, if you like labels on your chart, you can as well make your chart to have labels by going to chart designs. So let's just add elements, I think, here. Okay, so you can just add some elements here and say show. You can work on this to make sure that you actually have all of your series values. So if you double click on this series now, you are going to see the labels. Do you want the series name? You see sales, or you just want the values? Okay, so you can as well adjust that to fit depending. So you can actually change your type, your chart style, right, to match whatever you want to do. You can use this chart type, okay? So this is something you can just check on your own and see how it goes. So Mr. Kelechi, you can actually do this. So if you want to clear this filter, all you need to do is to click on this and say clear, it clears, okay? It clears to go back. So Mr. Nasike, you can do this always to filter through to get your report easy peasy.
Sir, can
Yes.
you also, is it possible to select more than 1 month?
More than 1 month?
Yes.
Okay. Yes, you can select more than 1 month easily.
How do you do that?
You hold down your control and just select more than 1 month.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Yes, you just click, hold down your control and click through to select more than 1 month.
Okay.
Because, hey, look at this now. You have multiple selects here, right? You have it set to multiple select, and by default, it's set to multiple or multi-select, right?
Okay.
Yes. So by default, it does that.
All
So
right, thank you.
you see, multi-select is set to multi-select. So once you just hold down your control, you can select multiple select. So now, okay. So any question?
Yes, sir. Hello, sir. I,
Okay.
I was
Hello.
asking that. Hello, sir.
Yeah. So before you ask a question, kindly tell us your name, then go ahead and ask.
Okay, my name is Samuel Aladosisi.
Okay, Mr. Samuel.
So, yes, sir. I was asking that what is the essence of the clone table when we have inserted our pivot table? What is now the essence of this clone table that we will bring beside it?
All right. So the essence of the clone table is because we cannot, there are certain charts we cannot insert on a pivot table, right? For instance, we can insert a map on a pivot table. Okay. Is that clear? Let me show you.
Yes.
Let me show you practically. If we click on a pivot table, ordinarily we can insert a chart. We can insert this line chart or a column chart. You see, we have inserted this column chart. Okay, and this chart enters as a pivot chart, right? You see, it's a pivot chart. We have inserted this. Can you see this?
Sir.
Okay, okay. So you can, if this is your goal, you can do this. You can insert it this way. And this chart can, let me take this map down a little bit. And you can still use this to slice through your charts. Okay, can use 2003. You can see the value for 2003, the values for 2004. You see it switching, and the values for 2005. So you can use this way. Okay. Now,
Yes, sir.
the challenge there is that you want to insert a chart that you cannot insert using a pivot chart. So let me clear this now and come to our pivot chart now and say insert. Then let's insert a map and see. It tells you that you can't create this chart type with data inside a pivot table. So it says, please select a different chart type or copy the data outside of the pivot table. So we decided to copy the data outside of the pivot table. So now, see this now. What people do is that they'll just do like this. They'll just copy this. Watch this. They copy this. They'll copy this and paste. So this is not the same thing with this. I don't know if you get it. This is not the same thing with this. This is connected to this pivot table and is dynamic. So whatever change occurring on this pivot will occur here. But whatever change, this one is a standalone. So if I change anything here, it won't affect this. So there's one thing you want to do as an analyst. You always want to be safe. So if, for instance, something happens to this data set, I have this pivot table and this is set to calculate itself. So if I go to the data, I go to the table, which was this table, and make any change, what my expectation will be is that it should reflect on this pivot table. And as much as it reflects on this pivot table, it should also reflect on this table, but it will never reflect here.
Okay.
It will not reflect here. So watch this now. Watch us work on this now. Watch these three tables if you can. Let's look at Australia. Let's look at Australia. Australia is on 60 here, 600, 600 here. So the same. Watch. If I pick 2003, watch Australia here. Australia have changed here. Australia changed here to the same value, but this remains constant, remains the same.
Okay.
So that is why you not just go and copy, you will clone instead.
Okay. Okay.
All right.
Yes, sir.
All right. So
Thank you, sir.
you're welcome. Do we have any other question?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
I have a question. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. Your name, please.
My name is Murna.
Okay. Bruna, your
Yeah.
question?
Okay, my question is, okay, this one, you have given us, we've solved everything. Okay, what if I want to report this data? For example, you gave me this data set and you want me to work for you.
Yeah.
And how am I going to report it to you? Am I going to give it to you like this, like the way it is on this chart that we use the map? Then I will give you this splitter that we've used. How am I going to report it, please? Can I report it like this, or there's a way I'm going to split everything yearly, or how?
Okay. So now, this is what I'll tell you. Every organization, let's say you're working in an organization, like Kelechi pointed out that he does this in his office. So the reporting format is usually different. Like in an organization where you don't have a format, you actually cannot actually report it like this. You have a format, a tabular format, right? Where you can say, okay, let's do it this way. I think this will let's do it. Let's do something. Let me add one more filter so that we can, I'll just give you an example. Okay. Let me add product. Let me add one more filter, product. Slicer rather, product. Product name. Let's use product line. Okay. So these are the product lines. Okay. So I want to do it this way. Our idea will be now, if I wanted to report, to create a report from this, a tabular report, like, right? That's your question, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I have product line, classic and the rest, classic cars, motorcycles and the rest. So I want to create a table. My table can be this way. It might be in, we have 3 years, right? Yeah. So let me say I have product line this way. Like I said, the format is something that changes. So we have year, we have month. Okay. So, but assuming we are looking at the product line, let's say let's copy this product line from here because we worked on this product line before. Let me clear this. Okay. So let me paste it here. So this is the same product line we have here. So we want to say whatever we put here will be sales. Okay. So let's say year. And because we have 3 year, we will just merge and center this year. Okay. Let's merge and center this product line here. So we have 2003. Oh, 2003. We have 2004 and 2005. Okay. So what we want to do is that we are assuming that I just want to make just a simple format to answer your question. So we're assuming that we want to know in 2003 what our sales was like. Okay. So because of that, we need to have a total sales here. Okay, let's say total. And so say equal, right? Yeah. Or we can get this from our pivot table here. Okay, we can get our total here. So let's work on this quickly. Let's clear everything. So now we pick classic cars. Then we pick the year 2003. Okay. If I go like this now, for classic cars in 2003, the sales was equals to this. So I can copy this and come here and paste. In 2004, I click 2004. I can get this as my sales for 2004 for classic cars. I paste it here. Then for 2005, you see how it's changing, right? I can get this, copy and paste for 2005. Okay. Now, this table has no link whatsoever to this, right? It's just, I just copied directly to just create your report. Then for motorcycles, I'll come for motorcycles. You see, immediately I click motorcycles, you see this change. So let me start from 2003 for motorcycle. I pick 2003 for motorcycles, I paste. 2004, I copy the total of 2004 and paste. Then 2005, I copy it and paste. Okay, so you go ahead and pick planes. For 2003, you pick and paste. I think this is a quick way of actually getting your calculations without struggling to calculate in your spreadsheet. Okay. Yeah. So you can keep doing that depending on the format. Like I said, lots of organizations have their format. And if you ever want to create a format, you can create a table format based on what should be covered. Like Mr. Kelechi was saying that when he, okay, let him remind us. Mr. Kelechi, you say you usually take what?
Sir.
You said you usually take, in your report, you take what?
Okay, in my report, I have to slice between the machine type,
Machine type,
consumables, and also the percentage of the consumables remaining in the machine.
Okay, machine type, machine consumable.
The percentage, and also the location too.
Okay, percentage
And the
location
of the machine.
Of the machine. So you see that, Mona, you see that this it's actually dependent on the information you want to take, but you can actually create your report from this. I don't know if that is clear.
Yes, it's clear. And then, sorry, sir, I have one. Please, since I've created this table now.
Yeah.
Okay, can I present it in a chart format?
Yes. Once you complete creating this table, you can definitely present it in a chart format. Highlight it.
Okay.
Highlight your table. Yeah. Let's see. The problem here is that we merged. Let me remove this wrap and then do it this way now. You see that. Okay, let's highlight this. Go to insert. Then, like I said, always be safe to start with recommended charts if you don't know what to do, if you don't know the charts to use. So let's pick these charts and see. So you see your chart now. If you had finished everything, it was going to show up on your chart. So this is your chart that you can represent. Okay, can you see that?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So I have a question on the chat. It say Tobena say it said we should try and run through the cloning process again. All right, we'll do that, Tobena. So am I right? Did I pronounce your name well, Tobena? Tobena.
Yes, Tobena.
All right. I just wanted to know, use that question to get clarification on the pronunciation of your name and also be sure you are listening. All right. So let's head on to our table. We want to insert a new pivot chart. Let's insert a new pivot chart. So a pivot table rather. I go to insert pivot table, and it picked my entire table. Hey, remember, because it's a table, I then click OK. So let us insert with products. Or let's just use deal size, the shorter deal size and sales. Okay. Now this is a pivot table. If I click outside, I don't get any pivot table feature. But if I click in the pivot table, I have the pivot table field. I have pivot table analyze as well as design. If I click outside, it goes out. If I click in, I have the conditional tabs for pivot, that is pivot table and design. I also have the pivot fields. So I want to clone this pivot table. The easy thing will be to first copy the label, because the label can be static, right? I paste the label. This label can be static, so it's fine. But what can't be static or shouldn't be static is the values, the corresponding values. So the first thing I have to do is automatically use a default Excel copying formula for pivot tables. So I'll say equals here. I just come and click on this corresponding values to large. You see the formula, get pivot data of a sales and deal size pivot analysis that is in A3. The label is large. So what I want to do now is I want to remove this large, okay, and replace it with where our new large is resident, that is D4. That's where our new large is. So I'll hit enter and I'm still going to get the correct values, okay? I'm still going to get the correct value. So what I need to do now is to easily just autofill this, and I have copied everything, okay? I can then go ahead to insert a chart. Let me insert two charts and show you something. I can insert an ordinary chart now. It's going to be an ordinary chart. Let me insert this. This is an ordinary chart, okay? But this ordinary chart will have an interesting, it's going to have an interesting feature. Why? Because I did it from what? From a cloned table. Let me insert a pivot chart. To insert a pivot chart from a pivot table, you just click on the pivot table, then you go to either pivot table analyze, or just head on to insert directly, and let's still enter the same chart. Now, watch the difference between these two charts. Let's watch the difference between these two charts. Look at, we don't have anything like sum of sales and deal size on this chart, do we? We don't have anything like that. So here, you still have the ability to filter through here, okay, on the pivot charts, but this is an ordinary chart. So if I click on this ordinary chart, what I just have is chart designs, as you can see, and the chart format, okay, to format the chart. But if I click on this pivot chart, I have pivot chart analyze. And from this pivot chart analyze, I can insert slicers or timelines or filter connection, or I can modify the pivot analysis, okay, on the pivot chart fields here. So the interesting thing is that, let me insert this. Country, for instance. Let me insert this now and see. When I pick this, you see it reflects, the changes reflect on both charts. And the reason why they can reflect on both charts is because I cloned the pivot chart, okay? But I want to show you one thing. Come to Belgium, for instance. You see that large is missing. Large is missing. There is no large here on the pivot table because on the pivot chart, because the pivot chart can actually modify itself to suit the data. Come here now, you see there's no large, okay? There's no large. But if we look at our data here, large is present, but it's saying no reference. So that is the difference. So that is why you only clone your pivot table when you want to insert a chart that you cannot insert on a pivot table. I don't know if that is clear. Is that clear? You said? Sorry, I didn't
Please,
get.
sir, please come again.
Okay, what are the statements I made?
Yes, sir.
Okay, I said this is the reason why. This reason, for instance, here, where you have large that is not represented here, but here you don't have large. This is the reason why you only clone a pivot table when you need to represent your analysis on a chart that cannot be entered on a pivot table. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
For instance, you can't enter map on a pivot table. So the ideal thing will be clone, copy the data, clone the data from the pivot table so that you will be able to enter the map. If it's map, you will not have any issues like this. But if I can enter this, for instance, see, I can actually make this chart look similar, these two charts. All I need to do is to click here. I come to design and yeah, on design, let me see where you see. Okay, you can come to quick layout and select a particular layout and or change, because I want to remove these I don't know, I can see. I want to remove these labels. Okay, let's right click and then format charts. Excuse me, I'm coming. Okay. All right, I'll show you looking of how to remove. I'm coming, please. It's supposed to be okay. Let me insert a chart again. Okay. Actually, it was not supposed to be design or format, but pivot chart analyze. On pivot chart analyze, let me go back. Okay. So on pivot chart analyze, you see on show and hide, you can see your fill buttons. These are fill buttons. So if I hide all, so you are going to see that this actually looks almost the same. This looks almost the same already, all right? It looks almost the same because you don't have the fill again. However, you can still see the characteristics of the pivot charts up here on the pivot chart analyze, as well as the pivot chart fields. Okay, so I have a question from Endurance. So good afternoon, sir. Please, on splitting and cleaning data using Power Query, while trying to use Microsoft Excel 365 Web, I couldn't find get and load. On get and load data groups, what I saw was get data from photo. I don't understand why, please. Okay. So Endurance, did you use, is it mobile or your PC? Can you hear me?
I can hear you, sir. About you.
Good
It
afternoon.
was
Was it?
on my PC, sir.
It was on your PC. All
Yes,
right.
sir.
Let me experience it with you. So I'm going in now.
That was
Um, I'm trying to sign into mine so that I'll share my screen. So, but you said on file. What about home?
I checked for home, but I don't think I checked for file. Just the home ribbon.
Okay, so check on the file. I just I'm trying to. Okay, let me. I'm loading. It's taking some time, so. Okay. Okay, you say, I see what you get now. You said you only can see data from picture. Okay, let me show you something. Let me share this screen with you. Let me share my screen with you and show you what happened so that you will match with it appropriately.
All right, sir.
Okay, can you see the screen now?
Yes, sir, I can see.
Okay. Now, if you look at this now, what you met was a single line ribbon. This is what you got, right? This what hello?
Hello, sir. I'm with
Yes.
you.
So this is what you got. When this is what you get when you go to 365 online. So, but to get the classic ribbon, your classic ribbon, you click on classic ribbon and you get everything now. So these are all of the you get basic appearance on all of the ribbon. So here is showing get data from a picture, just like you did before, and it wants you to get from a picture. But then on queries and connection, you look at the queries you have already connected. So I think your challenge was how you were meant to get your data into Power Query from here.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so let me just do this. Let me copy this padding. Paste it in. Okay, the data is too large. All right, so all right. So there is usually, I think our data is quite too large. So what will happen is this, I will make a short, this thing I can, maybe after the class, there about the close of the day, I'll make it just short this thing, how to get and transform your data from this thing. I'll reduce the data size and we'll do a very short clip I can share with you guys on your group. Okay?
All right.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. A very short clip I can can put there for you. Okay.
Thank you, sir.
All right. So, Mr. Kelechi, in case I forget, just remind me, please.
Okay, sir.
All right. Okay. So, any other question, please?
Hello, sir.
All right.
Hello, sir.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, sir. Afternoon. Once again, my name is Samuel Aladisi.
Okay,
Please,
Mr. Sam.
my question now is not really a question, but a challenge. During the self-learning session, I could not access this third lesson. That's a pivot analysis. That particular lesson.
Yes.
Once I get there, it will just take me to a far lesson that we have not even reached on Power BI, that's aggregation and Power BI.
Yes.
So I've actually completed the calculation said the way. I just want to say it here again, whether there is something you can help. I think it's not only me. Some other people, persons are complaining too. So I don't know why I could not actually access it.
Okay, I'll check it now. I'll check it, okay, after this class. Okay. All right. Can you hear me? Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, sir.
All right. So
We can hear you.
all right, I'll check it. I'll check to make sure I correct whatever the issue is. Okay. All right. Any other question or challenge?
Okay, sir.
I think on what you just said, sir,
Is-
I experienced it within the week, sir. But what I did was that I went to my Chrome browser and I cleared my history, including cookies. So, and when I did that, I went back to the page. Immediately I click on the pivot class. The thing just opened once for me.
Okay.
I think
So
Am I clearing it?
So help can you say it again so that they will do it? I wanted to check if it's an issue from our end, but if you're able to do that and it played for you, it's not from here, it's not from the end here.
so. I also experienced same thing, but what I did was I went to I cleared history and cookies, and I went back to the data and it for me. I think you guys will also do same.
Okay, okay. Thank you. I'll do
Good afternoon, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
Yes, sir. I think I also had the same issue, but I cleared my cookies and cache, and it's still the same thing. I think sometimes the videos it comes and sometimes it does not. So I don't know it's from your end, sir. Can you help us check it?
Okay, I'll definitely check. I'll definitely check.
Yes.
Okay. I'll check it. All right. So in the absence of any questions, we can call it a day, okay?
Sir, we also have an issue.
Okay.
Videos for week 3 and week 4, including, okay, let me add this one too. We've not gotten it.
Okay. I don't know why. I actually made them available. I think I had some complaint that now network issue downloading. I had to resend. So you will definitely get your videos, okay?
Okay, sir.
Mm.
Thank you so much. The pivot table was very insightful.
All right. Thank you. All right. Do have a wonderful day ahead, okay?
Thank you, sir, for the
All right. Thank you.
Bye.
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 Okay, bye, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Bye.